G'day mate, 40 here. So in the TV show Succession, which is somewhat modelled on the Murdoch family, Connor Roy is the oldest of the siblings and the most neglected and probably the least loved. And he tells his siblings in this season that he doesn't need love. That is his superpower. Okay, so he says his other three siblings are all love junkies, right? But he doesn't need love. Well, guess what? Connor Roy needs love too. We all need love, bro. No man is an island. So that's why I set up this channel, to create a safe space for bros to give and receive love without coming down with the monkeypox, without feeling social pressure to take a hit on the old crack pipe, right? Without any need to do any crystal meth. Right? This is a safe space to give and receive love without feeling any obligation to participate in water sports. Right? This is a water sports free love zone. Now, Connor Roy is under the delusion that he doesn't need love, but Connor needs love too, man. We all need to love and be loved. And people like Connor Roy who think they don't need love, their need for love just gets warped. It just becomes perverse. They transmute their need for love into all sorts of usually maladaptive, frequently anti-social pursuits. So Connor Roy is running for president of the United States to try to fill his need for love. Like a lot of politicians, you can see that what's driving them is they need to fill up their need for love. But that's just warped, right? Connor Roy is spending tens of millions of dollars to try to hold on to his 1% support in New Hampshire, in the New Hampshire primary. And that's a pretty warped way to try to get love. I mean, he marries a prostitute, right? It's like something out of the book of Hosea in the Bible, where God commands the prophet Hosea to go marry a prostitute. I mean, it's a little bit like how God commanded me to go investigate the San Fernando Valley pornography industry. I mean, I didn't want to do that. I said, God, it's so dirty, it's so disgusting, it's gonna impurify my vital bodily fluids, it's gonna tarnish my soul, it's gonna damage my reputation. But God says, no, 40, porn. You need to go write about the porn industry, go blog about the porn industry. And so what can I do? I followed God's directives. But I kind of identify with Connor Roy and his grandiosity. I mean, that's how I've dealt with my failures at normal levels of human interaction. My failures at the normal ways to give and receive love. Like, I've dealt with my failures through delusions of grandeur. So much so that my therapist once said to me, like a therapist I had for about 5 years, she said to me, I'd hate to see you waste your life in delusions of grandeur. In fact, I think I might have had multiple therapists say that to me. I think another one said, I'd hate to see you end up as that guy at the bar talking about what he could have been. So it's vulnerable, it's painful, it's awkward, right? To need love and to give love. But it gets warped. And so another common way it gets warped that I've experienced is the desire to be rescued or the desire to rescue. Right? They both come from the same sick place. So I remember in 2007, I met this attractive, intelligent young woman who was a bit of a mess. Right? She was sleeping out of her car, off her sister's couch, and at the LA Press Club. Right? That's where she was sleeping. And so, I cleaned her up, brought her home, took her out to dinner, and she was just so faithful. She was just so, happy. She was just so flexible, just so willing to go along with whatever I wanted to do. Now, I gave her a home, and it was absolutely thrilling to rescue her. But that thrill dissipated by about 3 months in. Right? Her own inability to take care of herself made her feel like a millstone around my neck. And I probably would have broken up with her shortly thereafter, but we took up chess. And so chess, extended our relationship about another 6 months. But I think blokes in particular, they often try to deny their need for love through delusions of grandeur, such as creating a podcast, live streaming with their opinion on political, social, cultural, and religious issues. So I think much of the reason that women often have contempt for men who do podcasts is that it is, coming from a place of delusions of grandeur. It's not infrequent that men are inept at basic human interactions, and so they try to, fill that hole in their soul, that gap in their life, by doing things like creating a podcast or live streaming, because this way you get to have interactions on your terms. So I'm not like the most flexible person when it comes to normal human interactions, and so inflexible people like me, we're really drawn to things like podcasting and live streaming because that we get to have human interactions on our terms. But that's such an empty, barren, sterile life. My therapist would keep teaching me how to negotiate normal human relationships. Oh man, it's so painful. Connor Roy, he marries a prostitute in the TV show Succession. Like, he's just so inept. He's got tens of millions of dollars, but just absolutely backwards when it comes to the ability to, interact with normal people. And marries a prostitute, like knowing full well that his money is, a large part of the reason that, she will consider him. Can you imagine marrying a prostitute and you go out to dinner or you go to parties, you go to gatherings, and there are some of her former clients there? I think that would be a bit of a downer. So what's the answer? And the answer comes in a pop song, right? John Denver, Sweet Surrender, Sweet, Sweet Surrender. So there are times to fight, but there are times to surrender, right? There are times to surrender when, my own way of doing things has not worked out. Let me open myself up to some alternative ways of doing things. Like, there are whole areas of my life where I'd just be far better off taking advice from some rando I meet in a park like this, rather than following my own normal natural inclinations. So when it comes to earning money, when it comes to love and eros, God, when it comes to like normal human relationships, when it comes to self-care, like all these like elementary things, generally speaking, I'd be better off just taking advice from some rando I meet in a park than following my own natural inclinations, right? My own choices have not worked out particularly well for me in these areas. So the answer in some things, like when you fail, is sweet, sweet surrender. Admit, okay, my own way of doing things not working out so well. Maybe I'll take advice. Maybe I'll accept, a little bit of guidance. So it's impossible to move from 100% self-directed to 100% God-directed, but you can build a really good life being 95% self-directed and just 5% directed by God, the universe, reality, other people, friends, family, mentors, community, right? Just opening up your life to just like 5% of direction from outside of yourself can be absolutely transformative.